Yeah, let me welcome you to today's edition of MSME Clinic. Don't forget, MSME Clinic is a clinic where we look at topical issues that borders the micro, small, medium enterprises. So is your enterprise micro today? Is it small? Or is it a medium enterprise waiting to grow into a large conglomerate? The principle is simple. You start small and you grow big. When you jump up, I assure you that you're going to come down. And that's why we take our time out on this platform, which you know that you have been an ardent follower, trying to see how you can grow that enterprise. You start as an individual, grow into a family business, so generation after generations, before you know, your business will start making money even after your death. That's what we strive to do on this platform. And we urge you to keep following us, and we would keep dishing you those menus, those meals that will make the difference in your enterprise. And you have us, to be grateful for at the end of the day. In today's MSME clinic, we're going to be looking at a very topical issue, very controversial, and very forward-looking, talking about understanding the difference between data analysis, data analytics, and of course, data science. They look so much alike to the extent that people don't really know the difference. So what we're going to be doing today is actually look for the differences and the need for you to have someone in your office who does data analysis for you, crystallizing into data analytics and being able to understand the science of it. The world is now a global village, and I tell you that internet is now the market square. Okay, so the earlier you focus on data science, the better for me and you. So if you just follow me and follow us, and at the end of the day, you will understand the difference between data analysis, data analytics, and data science. So on this session, we'll be looking at what really do they mean. Okay, we'll look at typical examples, how you can use this in your organizations. Then we try to understand the difference in terms of the scope, the approach, and of course the tools that differentiates them at the end of the day. Then we draw a magical conclusion at the end of the day. So most of the times you use some of these terminologies interchangeably. There's no problem about that. But I tell you, in terms of knowing the distinct meaning, methods, and application, you get to understand that today. So the first question now is, what is data analysis? And I need you to focus and to, draw your chair closer so that you understand what it means actually. Data analysis is the process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data with a goal of discovering useful information, drawing conclusions, and be able to support decision making. It involves detailed examination of data sets to identify patterns, relationships, and trends. It's often said now that data is life. So are you gathering those data today to make decisions about your organization? So you must be able to gather data for you to be able to inspect them. When you have those data, you have gathered them, then there's a need to clean them and transform them and model them with the goal of discovering useful information. And that's where the issue of bookkeeping comes in. Okay, so you can draw data from history, you can draw data from present to be able to predict what will happen in the future. In those days, a lot of you visit what in Africa they call the Babalawo, to be able to tell you what will happen in the future. But today, I'm telling you, with data analysis, with data analytics, you are good to go. You will be able to predict a lot of things that can happen. Quite a number of banks, health institutions, pharmaceuticals gather data to be able to see the pattern and behavior of their customers, to be able to predict what they can give them at the end of the day. Then with data analysis, you'll be able to draw conclusion and make decision, which is very important, and it involves detailed examination of data sets. Data set has to do with gathering data to be able to identify the pattern, relationship, and the trends at the end of the day. So we now look at, when you are looking at data analysis, what are those components that are important? Number one is that once you identify your data, there is a need to clean that data now. Preparing raw data for analysis by removing errors and inconsistencies for you to be able to make that prediction that is precise. Today, you pick up your phone, you set a particular app to be able to tell you the rainfall pattern or the weather pattern for a period of week, and it will tell you when the rain will fall. So what are we using? We're just using this item that we've mentioned: data analysis, data analytics, and of course data science. So the first component in data analysis is to be able to do what is called data cleaning. Then of course you move on to the one they call exploring data analysis. Okay? Otherwise it's EDA, exploring data analysis, which has to do with investigating data sets to summarize their main characteristics, often using the visual methods. So we're going to be talking so much about visualization, what we call data visualization. And of course, we talk about statistical analysis, which has to do with applying statistical techniques to be able to interpret the data and be able to derive meaningful insights. So data are useless if they are not analyzed, with a view of getting that necessary insights that would make you to draw that decision that would transform your organization at the end of the day. Now, of course, you come to what they call hypothesis testing. Under hypothesis testing, is about making inferences or predictions based on data through various statistical tests. Okay? And I want to urge you, if you really want to know the practicalities of data analysis, the practicalities of data analytics and data science, do visit us, at J Consulting International Services, where we have that school called the J Learning Center. All these social media handles are scrolling on your bar, and you can reach out to us. We are ready and available to help you. So let's look at a good examples of where we can use data analysis in businesses. One, if you want to understand the customer behavior by analyzing data sales, okay, you look at the biodiversity of those customers. You look at the patterns, the age. What age? There's things they call the Gen Z now, and the millennials and all this is, you look at the pattern. What do they like? So through data analysis, you'll be able to study the behaviors of this customer, and you analyze the data sales to know what to actually sell to these customers at the end of the day. Then we look at identifying factors influencing employees' turnover in an organization. You have a particular organization now, you discover that the turnover is quite high. Okay, so you find out what could the problem be. You want to employ for communication skills, for example. You discover that the ladies, okay, that's talking about the female gender, they are good communicators. Okay, you marry them into your house, they will tell you the soup is finished, the soup is about to finish. So what that means is that they are good communicators. But for the male counterparts, what do you see about them? They want to solve problems at their own level. So what do? So for a position like the communication position, our customer service, so you try to bring in the ladies. So these are the things that data analysis helps you to do. The customer behavior by analyzing sales data. And of course, you look at factors influencing employee turnover. Then you can use data analysis at the end of the day. So we've looked at data analysis now, what it means. We're not going to proceed on to the next component, which has to do with data analytics. They sound so much alike. Data analysis, data analytics. So we'll come to look at the nitty-gritty, the differences of each of them, so that at the end of the day, you now know what they mean and how to differentiate them. Talking about data analytics. Data analytics is a broader concept to data analysis that encompasses the entire process of collecting, processing and analyzing data to be able to generate actionable insights. This is where the predictive mode comes in now. You have data, by the time you analyze, you can predict what can happen. It involves not just examining data, but also applying algorithms and techniques to be able to predict future outcomes, to be able to optimize processes. So you see, where data analysis stops is where data analytics takes on. But the greater component of data analytics talks about the predictive mode of it into future outcome, so that you'll be able to optimize at the end of the day the processes that you are putting in place. And what are the components of data analytics? Number one component talks about descriptive analytics. Under descriptive analytics, you are looking at historical data. Okay? So most times you want to do a business plan. Okay? And it's a startup. So you need to go back to history to be able to generate data so that you can predict what will happen now and in the future. And that's what descriptive analytics does for you. It looks at historical data to be able to understand past trends and performances. Then, of course, up from descriptive, you now enter into what is called the predictive mode, where you are able now to predict using statistical models and machine learning algorithms to be able to forecast future events. And that's where we come in as J Learning Center, to be able to drill down. When you attend our course on data analysis and data analytics, you will be able to see your organization as a future focused organization that will be able to weather the storms at the end of the day. Okay, we've done quite a lot of predictions, a lot of prescriptions for a lot of organizations, and we stand out today as an organization to beat in terms of data analysis and data analytics. So from being able to prescribe, from being able to predict, we now prescriptive. Okay, it's like you approaching a doctor with a malaria ailment. Okay, so if the doctor is not so sure, he will ask you to go and do a test, a malaria test. Okay, so by the time the data comes back to him, then he's now able to be able to describe what your problem is, then predict that if we don't cure this malaria, it's going to likely lead to a higher ailment. Then the next thing the doctor does is for him to be able to prescribe now. Okay, so prescription analytics include recommending actions based on data analysis and the predictive model to be able to optimize outcome at the end of the day. Of course, you now come to data visualizations. This is when you use graphs, you use other means of analysis to be able to, at a glance, know what your data is talking about. So under predictive visualization, it involves presenting data and insights in a visually appealing and understandable format. Yesterday, I was in a crucial board meeting, and with the graph that were being displayed, we discovered that, look, it gives a better meaning to your data once you're able to know how to do visualization. And of course, by the time you come into our class, you now know how to do data visualization, which becomes a very interesting component. So we now look at examples of where you can apply data analytics. Okay, so in forecasting sales for the next quarter using the historical data that you have collected. Okay, so you've been able to go into history to be able to say, how has sales been over this period of time? Okay, so once you gather those data, then you can forecast what will happen in the next quarter. Vis-a-vis, that's if you're doing your data analysis on a quarterly basis. And of course, if you're doing it on a yearly basis, it will help you now to be able to know what the next year is going to be using historical data sales. This is where you come in to use data analytics to be able to forecast. Then, of course, if you want to recommend products to customer based on their browsing and purchasing history, data analytics can help you do that. So you see that a forward-looking organization that you want to be and a future company that you are looking out to be, you need a data analyst. You need data analytics. And of course, we get to the realm where you moved on to the era of data science. This is where this is what Amazon uses, okay, to be able to put up their data together. So we move on to the last component now, which has to do with data science. Data science is very interesting. Okay, so these days now you talk about AI. Everybody, at every glance, every press of a button, they're talking about AI. They're talking about the tools that AI uses to be able to do analysis. So under data science is a multidisciplinary field that uses scientific methods. Okay, and you know, science talked about predictions and being able to put facts and figures together to be able to look at what the future is talking about. It looked at algorithms and systems to be able to extract knowledge and insights from structured and unstructured data. Don't forget, when we talked about data analysis, we talked about the fact that you first of all have to clean the data. But with data science, to be able to gain insights whether that data is structured or whether that data is not structured. So it combines the aspect of data analysis, it combines data analytics and other advanced techniques to be able to solve complex problems and be able to drive innovation at the end of the day. Don't forget the name of the game as an MSME practitioner is that you must be creative, you must be innovative. And a lot of people miss these two terms quite often. So creativity is about thinking about new idea, while innovation is about putting those new ideas together. So it's not just about the fact that you are able to think about something new. What about putting that something new into place? That's where creativity and innovations come in. And I urge most of you that are entrepreneurs to be creative. There's something called talent management. In those days, you have personnel management. It moved on to human resource management. Today, people are talking about talent management, bringing the right set of talents into your organization to be able to work with you so that at the end of the day, you grow in long-term businesses. And what we realize that these days, people just start business for the sake of doing business. They hear things like, look, as an entrepreneur, you're going to prosper. As an MSME, you're going to prosper. It doesn't just work like that. You must move on to the realm of the science of it. Okay? And that's what keeps you in that business for quite a number of time. So we now look at the components of data science. So under the components, we look at data collections and engineering. So this has to do with gathering and structuring large volume of data from various sources. Now we talk about what I will call the big data. Okay? I mean, if you have to read 10 books and be able to make a summary of that, you know, humanly, it becomes a bit difficult. So when you step up to the realm of data science, then you are able to gather and structure large volume of data from different sources to be able to predict what you want to do at the end of the day. Then you move on to the realm that is called machine learning. Machine learning has to do with developing and deploying algorithms that allow computers to be able to learn from data and be able to make predictions on decisions that you want to make at the end of the day. Okay? So now you bring in large sets of computer in that. Cloud computing comes into bear. Then, of course, you move on to the rave of the moment, talking about the AI, the artificial intelligence, which has to do with implementing AI techniques to be able to create systems that can perform tasks, typically acquiring human intelligence. People are afraid now that the way the AI is going, it will get to a point where, you know, these things will be able to think faster than human, and that can become a problem to us. But of course, human create AI, human will be able to checkmate AI at the end of the day. Then you talk about the big data technology, utilizing tools and techniques to be able to process and analyze vast amount of data efficiently. So efficiency comes to efficiency, effectiveness, and efficiency at the end of the day, which is, you know, another topic for another day. And I urge you to look back into some of our materials where we stretch on what difference means efficiency and effectiveness of an organization. Then, of course, you move back to statistical modeling that has to do with building models to be able to understand relationships within data and be able to make predictions at the end of the day. And where do you use data science? Organizations like Netflix today, you can watch movies across board, okay? You select the movies you want to watch. The Netflix remind you about the movies you need to watch and stuff like that. So what are they using? They are using data science to be able to do that. So I want to urge you today to move your organization from where it is now, an ordinary organization that's not even doing data analysis, to an organization that is able to do data analysis, analytics, and be able to move up to organizations like Amazon's, where they have what they call the search engines, making recommendations for you on what to use, on what to view and what to buy at the end of the day. Talk about building predictive models to be able to identify fraudulent transactions in the banking sector. So today, you take a bank app and you are plugging in from a different location, and the system will be telling you a different maybe phone or has logged into the system. So you check, where is that coming from? Is this something that you need to checkmate? So what helps organizations like banks to do things like that is the data science at the end of the day. So we're going to move on now to talk about really what are the difference. And when we talk about difference, we're going to look at the scope, we'll look at the approach at the end of the day. So under scope, data analysis focuses on inspecting and interpreting data to be able to answer specific questions in order to be able to solve problems. So data analysis is just basic in terms of scope, okay? What does it do? It focuses on just inspecting and interpreting data. You just give the data set, you'll just be able to look at the data and be able to interpret it to be able to answer some specific and basic questions to be able to solve those problems. So when you talk about data analytics, it encompasses broader range of techniques, which include prediction, it includes prescription, and of course, you'll be able to generate what is called actionable insights for you to be able to appreciate the data that you have at the end of the day. And of course, data science integrates data analysis, analytics with machine learning. Machine learning is that the fact now that you're bringing so many computers into place, you're bringing artificial intelligence, and of course, the big data technology to be able to solve complex problems and be able to innovate just the way Netflix and Amazon and quite a number of other organizations are doing. So looking at the approaches that these three components uses. One, data analysis often, is more about description, okay? Providing insights to an existing data. But when you come to data analytics, you're looking at the past to be able to do that prescriptive, to be able to use past data to be able to forecast and make recommendations at the end of the day. Now, of course, data science is more about exploration. It's much more vast. It's much more experimental, often requiring creation of new algorithms or models at the end of the day. So what are the tools that data analytics use, and data science? What are the tools that they use? So if you want to do data analysis, you must be versed in Excel, okay? The use of R or the use of SPSS. So these are basic tools that data analysis uses. And of course, we teach all this one here at the G Learning Center. So if you want to know more about using Excel today, which is basic, or using R or SPSS, we are available to be able to partner with you to be able to do that. Then of course, data analytics uses Python. Okay, the first time I hear the word Python, I thought it was the snake that was going to bite you. But these days, Python, Tableau, and Power BI, these are platform tools that when you feed your data into them, they are able to, be able to do that prescription and be able to predict what can happen at the end of the day. And of course, data science uses Python, it uses R, it uses Hadoop, they use TensorFlow, and many more. Okay, so I hope that I've been able to, explain the difference between data analysis today, data analytics, and data science. So your organization must progress, okay? So I mentioned at the beginning that the world is now a global village and internet is now the market square. Okay, so you must get staff that are virtually minded, that are ICT, enabled, so that the analytics and data science is essential for anyone to be able to navigate the data landscape. Today, the world is driven by data, And people say, look, data is life. If you look at the difference between advanced world and Africa, the major difference between them is the ability for them to be able to use data to be able to drive their organization. And for you as an MSME, you can reach out to us, okay? You have a data analyst in your organization, bring him to us. We'll come in here to train that staff, and your organization will never be the same at the end of the day. So they share common ground. Each has its unique applications, and of course, they require different set skills. So you can start from data analysis, you move on to data analytics. Before you know, you are the realm of data science, talking about cloud computing now. So whether you're analyzing a customer feedback, you're trying to forecast sales, or be able to develop AI-driven solutions, knowing which approach to use can make the difference in achieving your goals. So I hope I've been able to convince you as to the difference between data analysis, data analytics, and data science. Follow us today, and you will be the best for it. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.